I stood alone in a room built for celebration, watching balloons drift like forgotten prayers against the ceiling, while my untouched birthday cake mocked me from the center table. "Happy birthday to nobody," I whispered, my voice fracturing the stillness. My phone vibrated. A photograph appeared. Jessica, my daughter-in-law, grinning at a restaurant table, surrounded by everyone I'd invited. Marcus, my son. Claire, my daughter. My grandchildren. Even my sister. The message beneath made my breath stop. "Real family celebrates together. You were never part of this." I stared until the phone trembled from my grip and hit the floor. If you've ever stood in an empty room, meant for people who forgot you existed, stay with me, press that like button. If this ache feels familiar, subscribe because what happens next will shock you, and comment where you're watching from. Tonight I desperately need to know someone hears me. My name is Eleanor Hartwell. Today I turned 65, though apparently nobody cared enough to remember. I live in Portland, Oregon, in the house Thomas and I constructed 32 years ago. He died 4 years back from pancreatic cancer, leaving me alone, though I didn't realize just how abandoned I truly was until tonight. Let me rewind 6 months. That's when Marcus brought Jessica home for Sunday supper and declared their engagement. She was stunning, polished, 32, with professionally highlighted hair and a smile that never touched her eyes. She studied my home like someone evaluating real estate. "This property must be worth considerable money," she remarked, trailing her finger across my grandmother's china cabinet. "Prime neighborhood, large lot." I should have recognized the warning signs. How Marcus suddenly stopped saying Mom and started using Eleanor whenever Jessica stood nearby. But after losing Thomas, I craved family so desperately that I ignored every red flag. I dove into wedding preparations, covering the venue, flowers, photographer, $40,000 from savings. Jessica accepted everything without gratitude. The wedding happened 3 months ago. I wasn't permitted front row seating. "Jessica's parents require that position," Marcus explained. I sat rear, beside distant relatives who couldn't recall my name. During the mother-son dance, Jessica's mother partnered with Marcus instead. I observed from my table, hands clasped, fighting tears. Post-wedding, visits evaporated. Sunday suppers canceled. Calls ignored. When I drove to their new house, I'd provided the down payment as a wedding gift. Jessica answered, but didn't invite me inside. "We're occupied, Eleanor. You should have telephoned first." "I'm his mother," I said softly. "And I'm his wife. That carries more weight now." The door shut in my face. Claire proved equally distant. She'd married wealthy investment banker Richard 5 years prior and relocated to Lake Oswego. She quit returning calls around when Jessica appeared. When I finally reached her, she sighed like I'd interrupted something important. "Mom, I'm organizing a fundraiser. Can this wait? I just wanted to hear your voice." "I'll call back." She never did. So I planned this birthday celebration. Sent invitations 2 months early. Rented tables and chairs. Ordered cake from the bakery Thomas. And I purchased new decorations. Prepared everyone's favorites. Marcus's pot roast, Claire's lemon bars, my grandchildren's chocolate chip cookies. I spent 3 days cooking. My arthritic hands throbbed from chopping and stirring, but I didn't mind. This would reunite us. This would remind them I still existed, still mattered, still deserved love. The party should have started at 6. By 5:30, everything looked perfect. The house smelled like home. The table was set for 20. I wore my finest dress, the blue one Thomas always said made my eyes sparkle. 6 o'clock arrived. Nobody. 6:30. I checked my phone. No messages. 7. I called Marcus. Straight to voicemail. 7:30. I called Claire. She answered on the 5th ring. "Mom, what?" "The party started at 6. Are you coming?" Silence. Then, "What party?" "My birthday party. I sent invitations. You confirmed." "Oh, right. Yeah, we can't make it. Richard has a work commitment." "But you confirmed." "I need to go." The line died. By 8, I understood. Nobody was coming. Not my children. Not my grandchildren. Not my sister living 15 minutes away. Not a single soul. I sat at the head of the empty table and stared at the cake. 65 candles waiting to be lit. I didn't light them. What purpose would wishing serve when you had nobody to wish for? That's when the photograph came through. I retrieved my phone from where it had fallen. The screen was cracked now, spider webbing across Jessica's smiling face. Behind her, I spotted everyone. Marcus had his arm around her. Claire was laughing at something. My grandchildren, Lily, age 7, and Mason, age 5, were eating ice cream sundaes. They hadn't forgotten my birthday. They'd chosen to celebrate without me. They'd planned this. All of them. Together. The second text arrived. Stop pretending you matter. You're just the old woman who used to be useful. Now you're nothing but a burden waiting to die. Do us all a favor and disappear. Something inside me went very quiet, very still, very cold. I walked to my bedroom, opened Thomas's closet, and pulled out the fireproof safe he'd kept hidden behind his winter coats. Inside were documents, papers he'd made me promise to keep secret until the time was right. I spread them across the bed and began reading. By midnight, I understood everything, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. Thomas's handwriting stared up at me from yellowed legal papers, and suddenly 4 years of grief transformed into something sharper, something useful, fury with purpose. The papers were dated 2 weeks before he died. A revised will, trust documents, letters addressed to Marcus and Claire, sealed and marked to be opened only in the event of betrayal or abandonment of Eleanor Hartwell. My hands shook as I broke the seal on my letter. Thomas's words felt like he was speaking directly from beyond death. My dearest Eleanor, if you're reading this, it means our children have failed you. I've known for years what Marcus really is. I've seen how he looks at money, at our home, at the inheritance he believes he deserves. I've watched Claire choose status over family. I hoped I was wrong. I prayed they would prove me wrong after I was gone. But I'm a practical man, and I've prepared for the worst. Everything you need is in this safe. Use it when the time is right. Make them understand that cruelty has consequences. I love you. Always. Thomas. I pressed the letter to my chest and let myself cry for the first time since the empty party. Not sad tears. Angry tears. Cleansing tears. The revised will was devastating in its simplicity. Thomas had left everything. The house, his life insurance, his investment portfolio, his share of the family business, in an irrevocable trust with me as sole beneficiary during my lifetime. Upon my death, assets would be distributed according to a formula based on demonstrated love, care, and respect shown to Eleanor Hartwell during her final years. A codicil explained further, Thomas had hired a private investigator 6 months before his death. The investigator had documented Marcus's conversations about waiting for the old man to die so we can finally get what's ours. He'd recorded Claire telling friends that once Dad's gone, we can put Mom in a home and sell that house for $2 million easy. Thomas had known. He'd heard everything, and he'd protected me from beyond the grave. But there was more. Much more. The trust documents revealed that Thomas had been far wealthier than anyone knew. His small family business, a commercial real estate company, was worth $8 million. He'd hidden the true value from everyone except his lawyer and accountant. Marcus and Claire thought they were inheriting maybe $500,000 each. They had no idea what they'd actually lost by betraying me. There were also private investigation reports from the past 4 years. Thomas had paid for ongoing surveillance, updated quarterly. Someone had been watching. Someone had been documenting everything. I spread the recent reports across the bed, photos of Marcus and Jessica at expensive restaurants, while telling me they were too busy to visit. Bank statements showing Claire had borrowed $50,000 from me 2 years ago for Richard's business investment and spent it on a luxury vacation to Bali. Text message transcripts between my children, discussing how to manage Mom's decline and secure the assets before she does something stupid like remarry or donate everything to charity. The most damning evidence was dated 3 weeks ago. A recorded phone conversation between Marcus and Claire. Marcus, we need to isolate her more. The less contact she has with anyone, the easier it'll be when we need to declare her incompetent. Claire, Jessica's already working on it. She's been poisoning Mom's relationships with the neighbors, telling everyone Eleanor is getting senile and paranoid. Marcus, good. Once we have her declared unfit, we can get power of attorney and control everything. The house alone is worth Claire 2.3 million. I already had it appraised. Marcus, we just need to wait a little longer. Let her get more isolated, more dependent. Then we make our move. I listened to that recording 3 times. My own children, planning to steal my life, planning to erase me while I was still breathing. The investigator's final note was dated yesterday. Subjects Marcus Hartwell and Claire Hartwell Morrison coordinated family gathering at Riverside Restaurant to deliberately exclude Eleanor Hartwell on her 65th birthday. Photographic evidence attached. Recommend immediate legal action. I looked at the photograph again. My family, celebrating my birthday, without me, while plotting to destroy me. The rage that filled me was nothing like I'd ever felt before. It was clean, surgical, patient. I gathered all the documents and placed them in a new folder. Then I opened Thomas's address book and found the name I needed. Gerald Blackwood, attorney at law, Thomas's most trusted friend, the man who'd helped him build this protection. I called at midnight. He answered on the second ring. Eleanor, is it time? It's time. I'll be at your house at 8 tomorrow morning. Don't speak to anyone. Don't tell anyone I'm coming. And Eleanor? Yes? Thomas knew this day would come. He made sure you'd have everything you need to win. Trust the process. I hung up and walked through my empty house. The party decorations still hung from the ceiling. The food still sat on the table, growing cold. The cake still waited. Uncut. I picked up a knife and cut a single slice. Lit one candle, made a wish. Then I ate my birthday cake alone in the dark, planning the destruction of everyone who'd betrayed me. By 3 in the morning, I had a complete strategy. By 5, I drafted a timeline. By 7, I'd showered, dressed in my best suit, and made coffee for 2. Gerald Blackwood arrived exactly at 8, carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it cost more than my car. Eleanor, he said, embracing me. Thomas told me, if this day ever came, I should tell you something, he said. Remind Eleanor that she's not the weak old woman they think she is. She's a Hartwell. And Hartwells don't forgive betrayal. They end it. I smiled for the first time in months. Then let's end it. We sat at my dining room table, the same table where my family should have celebrated with me, and began planning their downfall. Gerald spread the documents across my dining table, like a general planning a siege, and I realized Thomas hadn't just protected me, he'd armed me for war. First thing you need to understand, Gerald said, pouring himself coffee, is that your children have no legal claim to anything. Not the house. Not the business. Not a single dollar. Thomas made absolutely certain of that. But they think wrong. And that's exactly what Thomas wanted. He let them believe they were heirs. Let them plan, let them show their true nature. And now we have 4 years of documented evidence of their intentions. He pulled out a thick folder. This is every conversation, every text message, every email between Marcus and Claire discussing their plans for your assets. Thomas hired the best investigator in Portland. Everything here is legal, admissible, and devastating. I flipped through the pages. My hands trembled with each new betrayal. Text from Claire to Marcus. 6 months ago, Mom's getting weaker. I give her another year, maybe 2. Then the house is ours. Email from Marcus to Jessica. 3 months ago, my mother is worth more dead than alive. The sooner we can move her into memory care, the sooner we can access the estate. Recorded conversation between Jessica and her mother, 2 months ago. Eleanor is so pathetically desperate for family. She'll give us anything if we just pretend to care. Marcus says, once we have power of attorney, we can drain her accounts and she'll never even know. Gerald watched me read. There's more, much more, but I want you to understand something crucial. We're not just defending your assets, we're building a criminal case. I looked up sharply. Criminal? Elder abuse. Financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud. What your children have planned crosses the line from immoral into illegal. I've already been in contact with the district attorney's office. They're very interested. My heart hammered. You want them arrested? I want them to face consequences. Real ones. Not just losing an inheritance, losing their freedom, their reputations, their futures. Thomas wanted the same thing. He told me, if my children betray Eleanor, I don't want them punished. I want them destroyed. The words should have shocked me. Instead, they felt right. True. Just. What do we do first? I asked. Gerald smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. We let them keep digging. The deeper they dig, the worse it gets for them. I need you to act weak. Act confused. Act like the senile old woman they think you are. Can you do that? I've been acting like I don't see their cruelty for 4 years. I can act a little longer. Good, because here's the plan. In 2 weeks, Marcus is going to approach you about signing some papers. He'll say it's to simplify your finances or protect you from scams. What he's really doing is trying to get power of attorney. How do you know? Because he already contacted a lawyer about drafting the documents. A lawyer who happens to be a friend of mine, and who immediately informed me, Marcus has no idea we know. I felt something cold and sharp settle in my chest. What do I do when he asks? You sign them. What? You sign them. But the documents he thinks he's getting aren't the documents he's actually getting. I'll prepare a set of papers that look identical, but actually revoke any and all previous powers of attorney and explicitly state your mental competency. We'll have a doctor, a psychiatrist, and a notary present, all witnesses to your clear state of mind. Marcus will think he's won. In reality, he'll have just handed us the evidence we need to prove intent to defraud. And then? And then we wait for him to act. The moment he tries to access your accounts or make any financial decisions on your behalf, he commits a felony. We'll have him on camera, on record, with witnesses. It'll be irrefutable. I sat back in my chair. Thomas really thought of everything. Thomas loved you more than anything in this world. He told me once that if he could have taken you with him when he died, he would have. Since he couldn't, he made sure you'd be protected. He made sure you'd have the power to fight back. Gerald pulled out another document. This is the current valuation of the estate. I want you to see exactly what your children are trying to steal. The numbers made my breath catch. $8.4 million. The house, the business, the investments, the life insurance. Thomas had been worth more than $8 million, and he'd left every penny to me, protected in an unbreakable trust. They think they're fighting over $500,000, Gerald said. They have no idea what they've actually lost. When do they find out? At the perfect moment. When they're most confident. When they think they've won. That's when we pull the rug out and watch them fall. He handed me a business card. This is Dr. Sarah Chen. She's a geriatric psychiatrist. I need you to see her next week for a comprehensive cognitive evaluation. We need documented proof of your mental competency. Can you do that? Yes. This is Detective Robert Morrison. He's with the Financial Crimes Unit. He'll want to interview you about your children's behavior. Be honest. Be detailed. Hold nothing back. I won't. And this, he said, handing me a small device, is a recording pen. It looks normal, but it records everything. I need you to wear it every time you interact with Marcus or Claire. Every conversation, every visit, every phone call. We need their words in their own voices. I took the pen. It was heavier than it looked. Eleanor, Gerald said gently. Once we start this, there's no going back. Your children will hate you. Your grandchildren may never speak to you again. Your family will be destroyed. Are you absolutely certain this is what you want? I thought about the empty party. The cruel text message. The 4 years of loneliness and manipulation. The recorded conversations planning my destruction. They destroyed our family the moment they decided I was worth more dead than alive. I'm just making sure they pay for it. Gerald nodded. Then let's begin. Marcus called 3 days later, and I made my voice shake just enough to sound fragile when I answered. Mom? It's Marcus. How are you feeling? The concern in his voice was so perfectly fake, it made my stomach turn. But I'd promised Gerald I'd play my part. Oh, sweetheart. I'm so glad you called. I've been feeling so confused lately. I can't remember if I paid the electric bill, and yesterday I couldn't find my car keys for 2 hours. Silence on the other end. I could practically hear him smiling. That must be scary for you, he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. Listen, Jessica and I have been talking. We think it might be time to help you with some of your finances. You know, just to take the stress off you. That's so thoughtful of you both. Why don't we come over this Sunday? We can sit down and go through everything together. Make sure all your bills are being paid, that kind of thing. Sunday would be wonderful. Will you stay for supper? Of course, Mom. We'll be there at 2. He hung up without saying goodbye. I set the phone down and looked at Gerald, who'd been listening on speaker. Perfect, he said. He took the bait. The next 3 days were a masterclass in preparation. Dr. Chen conducted my cognitive evaluation. I scored perfectly on every test. Detective Morrison interviewed me for 4 hours, recording every detail of Marcus and Claire's behavior. Gerald prepared the fake power of attorney documents, identical to the ones Marcus thought he was getting but legally worthless for his purposes. On Sunday morning, I dressed carefully. A cardigan with large pockets, where I could hide the recording pen. Comfortable shoes in case I needed to stand for long periods. My wedding ring? The one thing I still wore every day. The one thing that reminded me Thomas had loved me once. Truly loved me. I cooked Marcus's favorite meal. Pot roast with carrots and potatoes. Homemade rolls. Apple pie for dessert. The same meal I'd made for his birthday every year since he was 5 years old. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Marcus and Jessica stood on my porch, both dressed like they were attending a business meeting. Marcus carried a briefcase. Jessica wore a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Mom, Marcus said, kissing my cheek. His lips were cold. You look tired. Are you sleeping okay? Not really, honey. I keep having these strange dreams where I can't remember where I am. Jessica and Marcus exchanged a glance. She squeezed his hand. Why don't we sit down? Jessica said, steering me toward the living room. We brought some papers for you to look at. They sat on the couch. I sat in Thomas's old chair. The recording pen in my pocket was already activated. Marcus opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. Mom, these are just some basic financial forms. They'll let us help you manage your bills and accounts, so you don't have to worry about forgetting anything. That's so sweet of you. All you need to do is sign here, here, and here. He pointed to signature lines with little yellow tabs. It's really simple. I picked up the papers and pretended to read them, letting my eyes lose focus. There's so much legal language. I don't understand most of it. You don't need to understand it, Jessica said quickly. That's why we're here to help. We'll take care of everything. What exactly will you be taking care of? Marcus's jaw tightened slightly. Just your bills, Mom, making sure your accounts are organized. Maybe helping you downsize a little. This house is too big for you anyway. Downsize? Well, you don't need all this space. And the maintenance is expensive. We were thinking you might be happier in a nice assisted living facility. Somewhere with people your age, activities, nurses on staff. You want to put me in a home? It's not putting you anywhere, Jessica said, her voice sharp. It's helping you transition to appropriate care. But this is my home. Thomas and I built this house. Thomas is dead, Marcus said flatly. You need to accept that and move on. This house is too much for you to handle alone. I let tears fill my eyes. Real tears, because even though I knew what he was, hearing him say those words still hurt. I just want my family back. We're right here, Mom. We're trying to help you. But you need to sign these papers first. I picked up the pen, the regular pen they'd brought, not my recording pen, and held it over the signature line. My hand trembled. Not from fear, from rage. Once I sign this, you'll visit me more? You'll bring the grandchildren? Of course, Marcus lied. We'll visit all the time. I signed 3 times, exactly where he'd indicated. Marcus practically snatched the papers away. Great. This is really great, Mom. You've made the right decision. When do we start organizing things? Soon. We'll need to go through your accounts, your investments, the house deed. But don't worry about any of that. We'll handle it. Jessica stood. We should probably get going. We have supper plans. But I made pot roast. Your favorite, Marcus. He didn't even look at the dining room, where the table was set for 3. We can't stay. Maybe another time. They were at the door in seconds. Marcus paused, turned back. Oh, and Mom? It's probably best if you don't mention this to anyone. Claire, your sister, any of your friends. Financial matters should stay private. I understand. Good. We'll be in touch. The door closed. I watched through the window as they got in their car. Jessica was already on her phone. Marcus was smiling. I waited until they drove away. Then I pulled out my phone and called Gerald. They took it. They signed the witness line. We have everything. Excellent. Now we wait. How long do you think before he tries to access your accounts? I thought about the eager way Marcus had grabbed those papers, the way Jessica had already been planning their next move. 24 hours, maybe less. Then we'll be ready. Eleanor. Yes. You did beautifully. Thomas would be proud. I hung up and walked to the dining room. The pot roast was getting cold. I'd cooked for 3, and once again, I was eating alone. But this time, I wasn't sad. This time, I was counting down the hours until my son destroyed himself. Marcus made his first move at 9:47 the next morning, and watching him walk into my bank with a briefcase full of lies was the most satisfying moment of my life. Gerald had positioned me in the bank manager's office with a perfect view of the main floor. I sat in a leather chair, invisible behind tinted glass, while my son approached the counter with Jessica at his side. I need to speak with someone about my mother's accounts. I heard him say through the audio feed Gerald had arranged. I have power of attorney. The teller smiled politely. Of course, sir. Let me get the manager. She disappeared into the back. Marcus and Jessica waited, confident and relaxed. Jessica was scrolling through her phone. Marcus was humming. The bank manager emerged. Not the real manager, but Detective Morrison in a suit and tie. He'd been waiting for this moment as eagerly as I had. Mr. Hartwell? I'm David Chen, the branch manager. Please come to my office. They followed him past where I was sitting, so close I could have reached out and touched them. Marcus didn't even glance in my direction. In the office next to mine, Detective Morrison began his performance. So you have power of attorney for Eleanor Hartwell? That's right. She's my mother. She's been having some memory issues, and we're concerned about her ability to manage her finances. I see. And you'd like to access her accounts? Yes. I need to review all her accounts, her assets, and make some organizational changes. What kind of changes? Well, for starters, I'd like to transfer her liquid assets into a joint account for easier management. A joint account with you? Yes, and my wife. Jessica leaned forward. We're planning to move Eleanor into assisted living soon. We'll need access to her funds to pay for her care. Detective Morrison nodded, typing on his computer. I see, and Mrs. Hartwell is aware of these plans. She's aware that we're helping her, Marcus said. The specifics are complicated for her to understand. Mom. And when did she sign this power of attorney? Yesterday. Can I see the document? Marcus handed it over proudly. Detective Morrison examined it carefully, taking his time. I watched through the glass as Marcus's confidence began to waver slightly. This is interesting, Detective Morrison said finally, because according to our records, Eleanor Hartwell revoked all powers of attorney 3 months ago and explicitly stated that no one should be given financial authority over her accounts without her direct presence and consent. Marcus's face went pale. That must be a mistake. It's not a mistake. In fact, Mrs. Hartwell was very specific. She said, and I quote, "If anyone, including my children, attempts to access my accounts or assets without my explicit written permission delivered in person, they are to be denied, and the police are to be contacted immediately." That's ridiculous. My mother wouldn't. Your mother did, 3 months ago. With her attorney present and a psychiatrist who certified her complete mental competency. Jessica stood abruptly. This is absurd. Eleanor is clearly declining. She can't even remember to pay her bills. Actually, Detective Morrison said, pulling out a folder. Mrs. Hartwell's bills have been paid automatically and on time for the past 15 years. She's never missed a payment, never been late. Her credit score is 812. The silence in that office was beautiful. Furthermore, Detective Morrison continued, I'm not actually the bank manager. I'm Detective Robert Morrison with the Portland Police Department, Financial Crimes Unit. And you, Mr. Hartwell, just attempted to commit elder financial abuse and fraud. Marcus shot to his feet. This is entrapment. No, this is evidence collection. You willingly came here with falsified documents, attempting to access accounts that don't belong to you, with the stated intention of transferring assets without the owner's knowledge or consent. That's a felony. I'm her son. I'm trying to help her. Are you? Detective Morrison pulled out a recording device. Because I have 4 years of recorded conversations where you discuss waiting for your mother to die so you can inherit her estate, where you plan to have her declared incompetent, where you calculate the value of her house and discuss how to manage her decline to maximize your inheritance. The color drained from Marcus's face completely. Jessica grabbed his arm. We're leaving, she said. You're not going anywhere. Detective Morrison pressed a button on his desk. 2 uniformed officers entered the room. Marcus Hartwell. Jessica Hartwell. You're both under arrest for attempted elder financial abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted theft. You have the right to remain silent. I watched through the glass as they handcuffed my son. Jessica was crying. Marcus was shouting something about lawyers and mistakes and misunderstandings. They dragged them past my window. Marcus saw me then. His eyes widened in shock and betrayal. Mom, Mom, what did you do? How could you do this to me? I stood and walked to the window so he could see me clearly. I protected myself from thieves. Just like your father taught me. You set me up. You lying. The officers pulled him away before he could finish. His voice echoed through the bank lobby, screaming accusations and curses. Gerald appeared at my side. That was perfect. We have everything we need. The attempted access, the false documents, his admission of intent. He's looking at 5 to 10 years. What about Jessica? She's an accomplice. Same charges. They'll both face trial. I watched through the window as they loaded Marcus and Jessica into separate police cars. Other customers in the bank were staring, whispering. Someone was recording on their phone. Good. Let everyone see. Let everyone know what happens to children who betray their parents. What about Claire? I asked. Gerald smiled. She's next. We've been monitoring her communications. The moment she heard about Marcus's arrest, she started deleting emails and text messages. That's destruction of evidence. She's making it worse for herself. When? Tomorrow. We've scheduled a meeting with her and Richard to discuss Marcus's legal situation. She thinks she's coming to help her brother. She has no idea she's walking into the same trap. I took a deep breath. The bank lobby was buzzing with activity now. Security was trying to calm customers. The teller who'd helped Marcus looked shaken. I need to go home, I said quietly. Do you want me to drive you? No, I want to walk. I want to feel the sun. I want to remember what it's like to be free. Gerald squeezed my shoulder. Thomas would be so proud of you. I walked out of that bank with my head high. People stared. Let them stare. Let them see the old woman who refused to be a victim. By the time I got home, the story was already on the news. Local businessman arrested for attempted elder abuse. Marcus's photo on the screen. Jessica crying in the background. I turned off the TV and sat in Thomas's chair. For the first time in 4 years, I felt like I could breathe. 1 down, 1 to go. Claire walked into the police station conference room, wearing a designer suit and carrying a leather purse that cost more than most people's monthly rent. And I knew immediately she'd come to save herself, not her brother. She didn't see me at first. I was sitting in the corner with Gerald, watching her scan the room with calculating eyes. Detective Morrison sat at the head of the table. Richard stood by the window, looking uncomfortable. Thank you for coming, Mrs. Morrison, Detective Morrison said. Please, sit down. Claire sat, crossing her legs elegantly. I assume this is about my brother's unfortunate situation. I want you to know that I had no knowledge of his actions. Marcus and I aren't particularly close. Really? Because we have text messages between you two from as recently as last week, discussing your mother's assets and how to handle her. Claire's composure cracked slightly. Those were taken out of context. Were they? Let me read you one, Marcus. Just get the power of attorney signed. Once we control her accounts, we can move her into memory care and sell the house. Split the proceeds 60-40 since you're doing the heavy lifting. The color drained from Claire's face. I never said that. You texted it on your personal cell phone. We have the records. Richard stepped forward. My wife is not involved in whatever Marcus did. She's a victim of his manipulation. Is she? Detective Morrison pulled out another folder. Because we also have bank records showing that Claire borrowed $50,000 from Eleanor Hartwell 2 years ago, claiming it was for your business investment. But the money never went to any business. It went to a luxury vacation in Bali, a new car, and shopping sprees in New York. Richard's face went white. Claire? That was a loan. I was going to pay it back. When? I spoke for the first time. Claire spun around, seeing me finally. When were you going to pay me back, Claire? Before or after you had me declared incompetent? Mom, I don't know what Marcus told you, but Marcus didn't tell me anything. I heard it from you. Your own voice, planning my destruction. Detective Morrison pressed play on a recording device. Claire's voice filled the room, crystal clear. We need to isolate her more. The less contact she has with anyone, the easier it'll be when we need to declare her incompetent. Claire stood abruptly. That's illegal. You can't record me without my consent. Your mother can record conversations in her own home, Gerald said calmly. It's perfectly legal in Oregon. And you gave us 4 years of material. Richard, we're leaving. Claire grabbed her purse. Sit down, Mrs. Morrison. Detective Morrison's voice was steel. You're not under arrest yet, but if you leave this room, you will be. Claire sat slowly. Her hands were shaking. Here's what's going to happen, Detective Morrison continued. You're going to be charged as a co-conspirator in the attempted financial exploitation of Eleanor Hartwell. The evidence against you is substantial. Text messages, recorded conversations, bank records showing fraudulent borrowing, witness testimony from neighbors stating that you actively spread rumors about your mother's mental decline. I was worried about her. You were positioning her for exploitation. There's a difference. Richard sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Claire, what did you do? I didn't do anything. Mom is the one who set us up. She's the one who recorded us and manipulated us, and I protected myself, I said quietly. From my own children, who decided I was worth more dead than alive. Claire's eyes filled with tears. But they weren't sad tears, they were angry tears. You're destroying our family. You destroyed our family when you skipped my birthday to celebrate without me. When you sent me that photo, when you planned to steal everything Dad and I built together. That house should be ours. We're your children. And I'm your mother. That should have meant something. The room fell silent. Richard was staring at his wife like he'd never seen her before. Claire was crying, mascara running down her face. Detective Morrison was taking notes. What happens now? Richard asked quietly. What kind of sentence are we talking about? Richard's voice was barely a whisper. For conspiracy to commit elder financial abuse, fraud, and theft, 3 to 7 years, plus restitution of the $50,000 she stole, with interest. Claire made a sound like a wounded animal. I can't go to prison. I have a life. I have a reputation. My fundraisers, my charity work, Your charity work? I stood up, walking toward her. You mean the work you do to make yourself look good while treating your own mother like garbage? Mom, please don't do this. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll pay back the money. I'll visit more. You'll face consequences. Like an adult. Like someone who made deliberate choices to hurt someone who loved them. I turned to Detective Morrison. I want to press full charges. No deals. No reduced sentences. I want her to face exactly what she deserves. Mom, no, please. Mrs. Hartwell, Gerald said gently, are you absolutely certain? This will mean, I know what it means. It means my daughter goes to prison. It means my grandchildren grow up, knowing their mother is a criminal. It means I'll be alone. I know. I accept it. Because the alternative is letting them think cruelty has no consequences. Detective Morrison nodded. Claire Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit elder financial abuse and fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Claire screamed. Actually screamed. Richard tried to reach for her, but the officers held him back. They handcuffed her while she sobbed and begged and cursed me. I hate you, she screamed, as they dragged her toward the door. I hate you, you're a vindictive old woman, and you're going to die alone. Do you hear me? Alone. The door slammed. Her voice echoed down the hallway, then faded. I believe you, I said, and I did. Richard had always been kind to me. Distant, but kind. What do I tell the kids? Tell them the truth, that their mother made terrible choices, and now she has to face the consequences. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I'm so sorry. He left, without another word. The conference room was empty now, except for Gerald, Detective Morrison, and me. I sat down heavily. My legs were shaking. Are you all right? Gerald asked. No, but I will be. What you did today took incredible strength. What I did today destroyed what was left of my family. Your family destroyed itself. You just refused to be destroyed with it. I looked at Detective Morrison. What happens to my grandchildren? They'll stay with Richard. He's not being charged with anything. Claire will likely be released on bail until trial, but she'll have supervised visitation only. And Marcus's children. Jessica's mother is taking them. Marcus will have no contact until after the trial. 4 grandchildren, none of them mine anymore. Lily and Mason would grow up thinking I was the villain who sent their parents to prison. Claire's children, Emma and Jackson, would hate me forever. But what was the alternative? Let Marcus and Claire steal everything? Let them get away with planning my destruction? Teach them that cruelty and betrayal have no consequences? No, some prices are worth paying. I want to go home, I said. Gerald drove me. We didn't speak. What was there to say? When we pulled up to my house, there was graffiti on the garage door. Evil old bitch. Someone had thrown eggs at my windows. My mailbox was knocked over. I'll call the police, Gerald said. Don't. It doesn't matter. Eleanor. It doesn't matter, Gerald. Let them have their revenge. It's all they have left. I walked into my empty house. The pot roast from Sunday was still in the refrigerator, untouched. The birthday decorations still hung from the ceiling. I sat in Thomas's chair and cried for the first time since this all began. Not sad tears, not angry tears, just empty tears. My children were going to prison. My grandchildren would hate me. My family was gone, but I was still standing, still breathing, still free. And tomorrow I would wake up and keep fighting, because that's what Hartwells do. If you've made it this far, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like on this video, and in the comments, tell me, would you have done the same thing? Or am I the villain in this story? I need to know I'm not alone in this fight. The trial date was set for 6 weeks after Marcus and Claire's arrests, and in that time, my quiet neighborhood transformed into a battlefield where everyone had an opinion about the old woman who sent her children to prison. The local newspaper ran the story on page 3. Elderly woman presses charges against children in elder abuse case. They made me sound like a victim. The comments section made me sound like a monster. She's destroying her own family over money. Those poor children, having such a vindictive mother. This is what happens when old people get bitter and paranoid. I stopped reading after the first 50 comments. Gerald told me not to look at all, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to know what people thought. I needed to understand how I'd become the villain. My sister Margaret called 3 days after Claire's arrest. We hadn't spoken since my birthday. Eleanor, what have you done? I protected myself. You've destroyed this family. Marcus and Claire made mistakes. Yes. But prison? You're sending your own children to prison. They tried to steal everything from me. They planned to have me declared incompetent. They celebrated my birthday without me and sent me a photo to rub it in my face. So you ruin their lives, their children's lives. Eleanor, this is cruel. Cruel is what they did to me. This is justice. This is revenge, and you're going to regret it when you're dying alone with no one to hold your hand. She hung up. I never heard from her again. The neighbors stopped speaking to me. Mrs. Patterson, who'd lived next door for 20 years, crossed the street when she saw me coming. Mr. Chen, who used to help me with my garden, pretended not to see me when I waved. Only one person stood by me. Gerald's wife, Patricia. She came to visit every week, bringing groceries and company. They don't understand, she told me over tea. They think family means tolerating abuse. They think being a good mother means letting your children destroy you. Maybe they're right. They're not right. Gerald told me everything. What Marcus and Claire did wasn't just wrong. It was evil. And you're brave for fighting back. I don't feel brave. I feel like a monster. Monsters don't cry themselves to sleep at night. Monsters don't feel guilty. You're not a monster, Eleanor. You're a survivor. But surviving felt a lot like dying. Every morning I woke up alone. Every evening I ate supper alone. The house that had once been filled with Thomas's laughter and my children's voices was silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. I started talking to Thomas's photograph, telling him about my day, asking him if I'd done the right thing. He never answered, but I imagined what he'd say. You did what you had to do. I'm proud of you. I held on to that imaginary pride like a lifeline. The preliminary hearing was held on a cold Tuesday morning in October. I sat in the courtroom gallery, watching as Marcus and Claire were led in wearing orange jumpsuits. They looked smaller somehow, diminished. Marcus saw me, and his face twisted with hatred. Claire looked away, crying silently. The prosecutor outlined the charges. The defense attorneys argued for bail reduction. The judge listened impassively, then set bail at $200,000 each. Richard paid Claire's bail that afternoon. She was released with an ankle monitor and strict conditions: no contact with me, no access to any of my accounts, no leaving the state. Marcus's bail was posted by Jessica's parents. He moved in with them, forbidden from seeing his own children until after the trial. The media picked up the story. Local news, then regional, then national. Portland mother prosecutes own children for elder abuse. I became a symbol. Some people called me brave. Most called me heartless. A reporter showed up at my door, asking for an interview. I refused. She stood on my lawn anyway, doing a segment about the controversial case that's dividing the community. Neighbors say Eleanor Hartwell was always difficult, the reporter said into her camera. Some describe her as controlling and manipulative. Others say she's a victim standing up for herself. The truth may lie somewhere in between. I watched from my window as she interviewed Mrs. Patterson, who said I'd always been a bit odd, and maybe the children had their reasons. That night, someone threw a brick through my window. The note attached said, "Family means forgiveness. You're going to hell." Gerald installed security cameras. The police increased patrols, but the damage was done. I was marked now, the old woman who destroyed her family. The weeks before trial were the longest of my life. I met with the prosecutor, going over my testimony. I reviewed the evidence again and again: the recordings, the text messages, the financial records, every piece of proof that my children had planned my destruction. Dr. Chen visited to check on my mental state. "You're handling this remarkably well," she said. "Most people in your situation would be falling apart." "I fall apart every night," I told her. "I just put myself back together every morning." "Why? What keeps you going?" I thought about that. The knowledge that if I give up now, everything I've been through was for nothing. They win, cruelty wins, and I can't let that happen. Even if it cost you everything? Even then. The night before the trial, I couldn't sleep. I walked through my house, touching things Thomas and I had collected together. The china cabinet from our anniversary trip to Paris. The grandfather clock he'd inherited from his father. The photo albums filled with pictures of Marcus and Claire as children, smiling and innocent and loved. When had it gone wrong? When had my children stopped seeing me as their mother and started seeing me as an obstacle to wealth? I found Marcus's baby book. Inside, a note I'd written when he was born. "You are my greatest joy. I promise to love you forever, no matter what." I'd kept that promise. Even now, even after everything, I still loved him. That was the worst part. The love didn't stop just because he'd betrayed me. But love without respect is worthless. Love without kindness is poison. And I'd finally learned that some loves need to be let go, no matter how much it hurts. I closed the baby book and put it away. Tomorrow, I would walk into that courtroom and tell the world what my children had done to me. Tomorrow, I would watch them face judgment. And tomorrow night, I would come home to this empty house and keep surviving. Because that's all I had left. Survival, and the grim satisfaction of knowing I'd refused to be destroyed quietly. At 3 in the morning, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I hope you're happy. You've destroyed 2 families. 4 children will grow up without their parents, all because you couldn't forgive a few mistakes. You're not a victim. You're a villain. And one day, you'll die alone and unloved, and no one will come to your funeral." I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it. They were probably right. I probably would die alone. But at least I'd die free. At least I'd die knowing I'd stood up for myself when everyone told me to lie down and take it. At least I'd die as Eleanor Hartwell. Not as the pathetic old woman my children had tried to turn me into. I made coffee and watched the sun rise through my broken window. The glass company was coming to fix it today. Another repair, another cost, another consequence of refusing to be a victim. But I'd paid worse prices, and I'd keep paying them as long as it took. Because some battles are worth fighting, even when you fight them alone. The courtroom smelled like old wood and fear, and when I took the witness stand, every eye in that room was judging me before I even opened my mouth. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Linda Hayes, approached with a gentle smile. "Mrs. Hartwell, can you please state your name for the record?" "Eleanor Marie Hartwell." "And what is your relationship to the defendants?" I looked at Marcus and Claire sitting at separate defense tables. They wouldn't meet my eyes. I'm their mother. A murmur went through the courtroom. The jury, 8 women, 4 men, all looking at me with varying degrees of sympathy and suspicion, leaned forward. "Mrs. Hartwell, can you tell us about your relationship with your children before your husband's death?" I took a breath. This was it. The moment I'd been preparing for. We were close. Not perfect, but close. Marcus called every Sunday. Claire visited twice a month. We celebrated holidays together. They were good children. And after your husband passed away? Everything changed. The calls became less frequent. The visits stopped. When I tried to reach out, they were always too busy, too tired, too something. When did you first suspect something was wrong? About a year after Thomas died. Marcus asked me for a loan, $20,000. He said it was for a business opportunity. I gave it to him because he was my son. He never paid it back, never even mentioned it again. Linda Hayes pulled out a document. "This is a bank record showing that transaction. Did you ever ask him to repay it?" "Once. He said I was being petty. That family doesn't keep score." "Did you agree with that?" "At the time, yes. Now I understand he was testing me, seeing how much he could take before I pushed back." Marcus's lawyer objected. "Speculation." "Sustained," the judge said. But the jury had heard it. Linda Hayes continued. "Mrs. Hartwell, can you tell us about your 65th birthday?" This was the hard part, the part where I had to relive the humiliation. I planned a party, sent invitations, made food, decorated. I invited my children, my grandchildren, my sister, some friends, 50 people total. How many came? None. Not one person showed up. What did you do? I waited. I called. I checked my phone. I thought maybe I'd gotten the date wrong, or the time, but I hadn't. They just didn't come. Did you hear from anyone that night? Yes. My daughter-in-law Jessica sent me a photo. Linda Hayes pulled it up on the screen. There it was, blown up for everyone to see. My entire family at a restaurant, celebrating without me. Can you identify the people in this photo? That's Marcus, my son. Jessica, his wife. Claire, my daughter. Richard, her husband. My 4 grandchildren. My sister Margaret. Some cousins. They were all there, having supper, on my birthday. Did the photo come with a message? I closed my eyes. Yes. It said, "Real family celebrates together. You were never part of this." The courtroom went silent. Even Marcus's lawyer looked uncomfortable. What did you feel when you saw that photo? Destroyed. Completely destroyed. Like everything I'd done for them, every sacrifice I'd made, meant nothing. Like I meant nothing. Can you tell us about those sacrifices? This was where I told my story. All of it. How I'd worked 2 jobs to put Marcus through college. How I'd paid for Claire's wedding when her father-in-law backed out. How I'd babysat my grandchildren every week for years, never asking for anything in return. How I'd given them money, time, love, everything I had. And how did they repay you? Linda Hayes asked. By planning to steal everything I had left. She played the recordings then. My children's voices filled the courtroom, discussing my decline, planning my institutionalization, calculating the value of my home. The jury's faces changed. Sympathy turned to disgust. Suspicion turned to anger. When Marcus's voice said, "My mother is worth more dead than alive," I heard someone in the gallery gasp. Mrs. Hartwell, when did you first hear these recordings? The night of my birthday. My late husband had hired investigators. He'd been collecting evidence for years, in case something like this happened. Your husband suspected your children would do this. He knew. He'd overheard them talking. He tried to warn me, but I didn't want to believe it. I loved them too much to see what they really were. Marcus's lawyer stood for cross-examination. His name was David Foster, and he looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mrs. Hartwell, isn't it true that you've always been a controlling person? No. Isn't it true that you used money to manipulate your children? I gave them money because I loved them. That's not manipulation. You paid for Marcus's college. Didn't you hold that over his head? Never. Not once. You paid for Claire's wedding. Didn't you use that to control her choices? I paid for the wedding she wanted. I never asked for anything in return. But you expected gratitude, didn't you? You expected them to visit you, call you, include you in their lives? I expected basic human decency. Is that wrong? He paused. Mrs. Hartwell, isn't it possible that your children were simply trying to help you? That they were concerned about your ability to manage your affairs? By celebrating my birthday without me? By sending me a cruel message? By planning to steal my home? They were planning to help you transition to appropriate care. They were planning to have me declared incompetent so they could steal $8 million. The number hung in the air. I hadn't meant to say it. It had slipped out. David Foster pounced. $8 million? That's quite a fortune to keep from your children. It's my fortune. My husband's and mine. We earned it. We built it. And we had every right to decide what happened to it. Even if that means your children get nothing. My children will get nothing because they tried to steal everything. That's their choice, not mine. So this is about punishment. This is about consequences. There's a difference. Is there? Because it seems to me like a vindictive old woman who can't forgive her children for being busy. Objection. Linda Hayes was on her feet. Counsel is badgering the witness. Sustained. Mr. Foster, rephrase. But the damage was done. The jury had heard it. Vindictive old woman. I looked at them. I'm not vindictive. I'm not cruel. I'm just someone who refused to let her children destroy her. And if that makes me a bad mother, then I accept that. Because the alternative was letting them win. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't let them think that cruelty and betrayal have no consequences. David Foster sat down. He had nothing else. Claire's lawyer didn't even cross-examine me. She just shook her head and said, "No questions." When I stepped down from the witness stand, my legs were shaking. Gerald helped me back to my seat. The prosecutor called more witnesses. The investigator who'd collected the evidence, Dr. Chen, who testified about my mental competency, Detective Morrison, who explained the attempted fraud. Then it was the defense's turn. Marcus took the stand. He was sworn in, and his lawyer asked him to explain his actions. "I was trying to help my mother," he said. "She was declining, forgetting things. I was scared she'd hurt herself or be taken advantage of by scammers." "So you attempted to access her accounts out of concern?" "Yes. I just wanted to make sure she was okay." Linda Hayes destroyed him on cross-examination. She played the recordings again. She showed the text messages. She walked him through every lie, every manipulation, every calculated move. "Mr. Hartwell, if you were so concerned about your mother, why did you celebrate her birthday without her?" That was a mistake." "A mistake, or a deliberate act of cruelty?" "I don't know. I wasn't thinking." "No, you were thinking very clearly. You were thinking about her money, about her house, about what you'd inherit when she died. Isn't that right?" Marcus broke, actually broke. He started crying on the stand. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mom, I'm sorry." But it was too late. The jury had seen everything. The evidence was overwhelming. Claire didn't testify. Her lawyer advised against it. The trial lasted 3 days. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts, both of them. When the verdict was read, Claire collapsed. Marcus stared straight ahead, emotionless. Their lawyers immediately filed for appeal. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. I walked out of that courtroom a winner, but I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I destroyed my children. That was the truth of it. I'd stood up in front of the world and told everyone what they'd done, and now they were going to prison. Outside, reporters swarmed. I pushed through them without speaking. Gerald guided me to his car. "You did the right thing," he said. "Then why does it feel so wrong?" He didn't have an answer for that. At home, I found another brick through my window. Another threatening note. Another reminder that the world saw me as the villain. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was the villain. But if being the villain meant protecting myself, then I'd wear that label. I'd carry it. I'd own it. Because the alternative was being the victim. And I was done being the victim. 2 weeks after the verdict, I sat in the same courtroom and watched the judge decide how many years of their lives my children would lose because of what they'd tried to take from me. Marcus went first. His lawyer made an impassioned plea for leniency. "Your Honor, my client is a first-time offender. He has no criminal record. He's a father of 2 young children who need him. Yes, he made mistakes, but prison would destroy his family." The prosecutor countered. "Mr. Hartwell didn't make mistakes. He made calculated, deliberate choices to defraud and exploit his elderly mother. He showed no remorse until he was caught. He deserves the maximum sentence." The judge looked at Marcus. "Do you have anything to say before I pass sentence?" Marcus stood. He looked thinner than he had at trial. Older, broken. "Your Honor, I know what I did was wrong. I know I hurt my mother, but I never meant for things to go this far. I was scared about money, about providing for my family. I made terrible choices, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." He turned to look at me. "Mom, I know you'll never forgive me. I know I destroyed everything. But I want you to know that I did love you. I do love you. I lost my way, and I'm sorry." The tears looked real. Maybe they were, but they were 4 years too late. The judge spoke. "Mr. Hartwell, elder abuse is one of the most despicable crimes in our society. You targeted someone who loved you, who trusted you, who gave you everything. You planned to steal her home, her savings, her dignity. You attempted to have her declared incompetent so you could control her life. That's not a mistake. That's predatory behavior. I sentence you to 7 years in state prison, followed by 3 years of supervised probation. You will also pay full restitution to your mother in the amount of $20,000, plus interest. You are prohibited from contacting her in any way for the duration of your sentence and probation." Marcus's knees buckled. The bailiff caught him. Jessica, sitting in the gallery, let out a sob. 7 years. My son would be 45 when he got out. His children would be 12 and 10. They'd grow up without him. Because of me. No, because of him, because of his choices. I had to keep reminding myself of that. Claire was next. Her lawyer tried the same approach. Your Honor, Claire Morrison is a respected member of the community. She volunteers at 3 charities. She's a devoted mother. She made a terrible error in judgment, influenced by her brother, but she doesn't deserve to lose everything. Richard sat in the gallery, holding their children. Emma was crying. Jackson looked confused. The judge looked at Claire. Mrs. Morrison, do you have anything to say? Claire stood. She looked directly at me. Mom, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to make this right. I was greedy. I was cruel. I took advantage of your love, and I threw it away for money. I didn't even need. I have no excuse. I can only tell you that I'm sorry, and I know that's not enough. It will never be enough. She paused. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to ever speak to me again. I just want you to know that I understand what I did. I understand that I destroyed our family, and I'll spend the rest of my life regretting it. The judge nodded. Mrs. Morrison, you were not the primary instigator in this scheme, but you were a willing participant. You borrowed money from your mother under false pretenses. You spread rumors about her mental decline. You helped your brother plan her exploitation. However, I do note that you showed more remorse than your brother, and you cooperated with the investigation. I sentence you to 4 years in state prison, followed by 2 years of supervised probation. You will pay restitution in the amount of $50,000, plus interest. You are also prohibited from contacting your mother. 4 years. Claire would be 43 when she got out. Her children would be teenagers. The bailiffs led them away. Marcus looked back at me once. Claire kept her eyes forward. And just like that, it was over. Outside the courtroom, reporters surrounded me again. This time, I stopped. Mrs. Hartwell, how do you feel about the sentences? I feel like justice was served. Do you have any regrets? I looked directly at the camera. My only regret is that I didn't see who my children really were before they had a chance to hurt me. But I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret standing up for myself. And I don't regret making sure they faced consequences for their actions. What about your grandchildren? They'll grow up without their parents. Their parents made that choice, not me. I would have given anything for my children to love me the way I loved them. But they chose money over family. They chose cruelty over kindness, and now they're paying the price. Do you think you'll ever reconcile with them? No. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. This is one of them. I walked away from the cameras, from the reporters, from the courthouse where my family had been officially destroyed. Gerald drove me home. We didn't speak. What was there to say? At my house, I found flowers on the doorstep. A note attached, "You did the right thing. Stay strong. A fellow survivor." I didn't know who sent them, but I brought them inside and put them in a vase on my dining room table. That night, I sat in Thomas's chair and thought about everything that had happened. My children were going to prison. My grandchildren would grow up hating me. My family was gone, but I was still here, still standing, still free. And maybe that was enough. Maybe survival was enough. I pulled out Thomas's letter and read it again. Make them understand that cruelty has consequences. I'd done that. I'd made them understand. The question was, had I made myself understand? Had I accepted the consequences of my own choices? Because standing up for yourself comes with a price, and I was paying it every day, in loneliness and isolation, and the knowledge that I destroyed my own family to save myself. Was it worth it? I looked around my empty house, at the photos of Marcus and Claire as children, at the memories of family suppers and holidays, and laughter that would never come again. Yes, it was worth it. Because the alternative was letting them win. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't teach my grandchildren that cruelty and betrayal are acceptable. If you target someone who loves you, I couldn't let them think that family means tolerating abuse. So I'd paid the price, and I'd keep paying it for however many years I had left. But at least I'd paid it standing up. At least I'd paid it free. 3 months after sentencing, I received my first letter from prison, and the handwriting on the envelope made my hands shake so badly I almost dropped it. Claire, My daughter had written to me from prison. I stared at that envelope for an hour before I could bring myself to open it. Gerald had warned me. This might happen. They'll try to manipulate you, he'd said. They'll apologize. They'll beg. Don't let them back in. But she was still my daughter, and some part of me still hoped. I opened the letter. Mom, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to care, but I need to write it anyway, because I need you to know that I understand now. I understand what I did. I understand what I destroyed. Prison gives you a lot of time to think, a lot of time to regret. I replay every moment, every choice, every cruel word, and I hate myself for all of it. Emma and Jackson visited last week. They asked why you sent me here. I told them the truth, that I tried to steal from you, that I was cruel to you, that I deserved this. Emma cried. Jackson wouldn't look at me. They're growing up without me, and it's my fault. Not yours, mine. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I don't know if I deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Claire. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't write back. Marcus never wrote. I heard from Jessica's lawyer that he was angry, bitter, blaming me for everything. He joined a prison gang. He was getting into fights. He'd become someone I didn't recognize. Maybe he'd always been that person, and I just refused to see it. Richard brought the children to visit once. Emma and Jackson stood on my porch, looking scared and confused. Grandma, Emma said quietly, why did you do it? Why did you send Mom to prison? How do you explain to a 12-year-old that her mother tried to destroy you? How do you make her understand that love without respect is worthless? Your mother made choices, I said carefully. Bad choices, and choices have consequences. But she's our mom. We need her. I know, sweetheart. I know, and I'm sorry, but what she did was wrong, and I couldn't let it go unpunished. So you're more important than us. The question hit like a physical blow. No, but I'm just as important, and I had to remember that. Emma started crying. Jackson just stared at me with hatred in his eyes. Richard gathered them up. We should go. Richard. Don't, Eleanor. Just don't. They left. I watched them drive away, knowing I'd never see them again. That night, I added their names to the list of people I'd lost. Marcus, Claire, Lily, Mason, Emma, Jackson, Margaret. My neighbors, my friends. Everyone. The house felt like a tomb. I wandered through rooms that had once been filled with life and laughter, and now held only silence and memories. I started talking to Thomas more, having full conversations with his photograph, telling him about my day, asking his advice, pretending he was still here. Patricia, Gerald's wife, noticed. Eleanor, I'm worried about you. You're isolating yourself. I'm alone. There's a difference. You don't have to be alone. There are support groups, other people who've been through similar situations, other people who destroyed their families, other people who stood up for themselves and paid the price. You're not the only one. She convinced me to attend a meeting. 12 women, all over 60, all with stories of family betrayal and the difficult choice to fight back. One woman, Margaret, had pressed charges against her son for stealing her life savings. He'd gotten 5 years. Another, Susan, had her daughter arrested for forging her signature on property deeds. The daughter was still awaiting trial. A third, Joyce, had survived attempted murder by her grandson, who'd tried to smother her with a pillow to speed up his inheritance. We sat in a circle in a church basement, drinking bad coffee and sharing our pain. Do you regret it? Someone asked me. Pressing charges? I thought about that. Every day. But I'd do it again. Even knowing what it would cost. Especially knowing what it would cost, because the alternative was teaching them that they could destroy me and face no consequences. And I couldn't do that. I couldn't let them win. Margaret nodded. My son got out last year. He tried to contact me, wanted to make amends. I told him no, some bridges can't be rebuilt. Do you think we're bad people? Susan asked quietly. For doing this to our families? Silence. Then Joyce spoke. I think we're survivors. I think we're women who refuse to die quietly. And if that makes us bad people, then I'm okay with that. We all nodded, because what else could we do? After the meeting, Patricia drove me home. How do you feel? Less alone, still broken, but less alone. That's something. Is it enough? It has to be. At home, I found another letter from Claire, and another, and another. She wrote every week, long letters about prison life, about her regrets, about watching her children grow up through photographs Richard sent. I read them all. I never responded. Marcus never wrote. I heard through the lawyer that he'd been denied parole at his first hearing. He'd be in for the full 7 years. Good. Let him sit there. Let him think about what he'd done. But at night, when I couldn't sleep, I thought about him as a little boy, running through this house, laughing, calling for me. Mommy, Mommy, watch this. I'd watched everything. His first steps, his first words, his first day of school, his graduation, his wedding. And somehow, somewhere along the way, that little boy had turned into a man who saw me as nothing more than an obstacle to wealth. When had it happened? When had I lost him? Or had I ever really had him at all? These were the questions that kept me awake. These were the thoughts that haunted me. But every morning I got up. I made coffee. I took care of my house. I survived. Because that's what I'd chosen. Survival over family. Freedom over love. And I had to believe it was worth it. I had to believe that standing up for yourself, even when it costs you everything, is the right choice. Because the alternative was unthinkable. The alternative was letting them win. And I'd rather die alone than live as their victim. 6 months after sentencing, someone knocked on my door at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, and when I opened it, I found my youngest grandchild standing there with a backpack and tears streaming down her face. Grandma. Lily's voice was small, broken. Can I come in? She was 8 years old now. I hadn't seen her since before the trial. She'd grown taller, thinner. Her eyes looked older than they should. Lily, what are you doing here? Where's Jessica? She doesn't know I'm here. I took the bus. I used my birthday money. My heart stopped. You took the bus? Alone? Lily, that's dangerous. I needed to see you. I needed to understand. I pulled her inside quickly, checking the street. No one had followed her. Thank God. Does anyone know where you are? She shook her head. I left a note, but I didn't say where I was going. I immediately called Jessica. She answered on the first ring, panicked. Eleanor, have you seen Lily? She's missing. I can't find her. She's here. She's safe. She took the bus. Oh, thank God. I'm coming to get her right now. Wait, let me talk to her first. Give us an hour. Silence. Then 1 hour, and Eleanor. Thank you. I hung up and looked at Lily. She was sitting on my couch, hugging her backpack, looking so small and scared. Are you hungry? I asked. She nodded. I made her breakfast, pancakes with chocolate chips, the way she used to like them. She ate slowly, not meeting my eyes. Lily, why did you come here? Because everyone says you're evil. They say you destroyed our family. They say Daddy's in prison because of you. And what do you think? I don't know. That's why I came. I needed to hear your side. I sat down across from her. Your daddy tried to steal from me. He planned to take my house, my money, everything. He was going to have me declared crazy so he could control my life. That's why he's in prison. Not because I'm evil, because he broke the law. But he's still my daddy. I know, and I'm sorry you're hurting. I'm sorry you have to grow up without him. But what he did was wrong, Lily. And wrong things have consequences. Mommy says you could have forgiven him. That family is supposed to forgive. Family is supposed to love each other, respect each other. Your daddy didn't love or respect me. He used me, and when I tried to protect myself, he got angry. Lily was crying now. I just want my family back. I want Daddy home. I want everyone to stop fighting. I moved to sit beside her, pulling her into a hug. She resisted for a moment, then collapsed against me, sobbing. I know, sweetheart. I know. I want that too. But some things can't be fixed. Some things are broken forever. Is it my fault? Did I do something wrong? No, no, baby. This is not your fault. This is between the adults. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why does it hurt so much? Because loving people who hurt you always hurts. But that doesn't mean you stop loving them. It just means you have to love them from a distance. She pulled back, looking at me with those big, sad eyes. Do you still love Daddy? The question broke something in me. Yes, I'll always love him. He's my son. But I can't have him in my life anymore because he hurt me too badly. Will I have to choose between you and him? No, you don't have to choose. You can love both of us. You can visit him in prison and still know that what he did was wrong. Those two things can both be true. She thought about that. Are you lonely, Grandma? Very lonely. Do you wish you'd done things differently? I thought about lying, but she deserved the truth. Sometimes, late at night when this house is too quiet, I wonder if I should have just let them take everything. If keeping my family would have been worth losing myself. And I always come to the same conclusion. I couldn't let them destroy me, even if it meant losing everyone I loved. That's really sad. Yes, it is. We sat in silence for a while. Then Lily said, "Can I visit you sometimes, even though Daddy's in prison?" I don't know if your mom would allow that. I'll ask her. I'll tell her I want to. Because I don't think you're evil, Grandma. I think you're just sad, and I don't want you to be alone. The doorbell rang. Jessica, right on time. I walked Lily to the door. Jessica stood there, looking exhausted and relieved. Thank you for calling, she said stiffly. Come on, Lily. We need to go. Mom, can I visit Grandma sometimes? Jessica looked at me, then at Lily. We'll talk about it. Please, she's all alone, and she's not evil, she's just sad. Jessica's expression softened slightly. We'll talk about it, she repeated. They left. I watched them drive away, Lily waving from the back window. That night, I received a text from Jessica. Thank you for being kind to her today. You didn't have to be. I know you blame me too. Maybe we can work something out. For Lily's sake. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I typed, I'd like that, for Lily's sake. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was something, a tiny crack in the wall I'd built around myself. Maybe that was enough. Maybe small cracks were all I could hope for now. I went to bed that night thinking about Lily's question. Do you still love Daddy? Yes. God help me. Yes. I still loved him. I still loved Claire. I still loved all of them. But love wasn't enough. Love without respect, without kindness, without basic human decency, was just pain wearing a prettier name. And I'd had enough pain. So I'd take the small cracks. The occasional visit from a grandchild who didn't hate me yet. The text message from a daughter-in-law who might possibly understand. I'd take whatever I could get. Because when you've lost everything, even crumbs feel like a feast. 1 year after the sentencing, I sat at my dining room table with a pen and paper, and I wrote the letter I'd been composing in my head for months. The letter I knew I'd never send. Dear Marcus and Claire, it's been a year since the trial. A year since I watched you being led away in handcuffs. A year since I destroyed our family to save myself. I want you to know that I think about you every day. Every single day. I wake up, and for a moment I forget. I think about calling you. I think about Sunday suppers and holidays, and laughter. And then I remember. I remember the photo. I remember the recordings. I remember the look in your eyes when you realized I'd caught you. I remember everything. People ask me if I have regrets. I tell them no, but that's a lie. I have so many regrets, I can't count them all. I regret not seeing who you really were sooner. I regret giving you so much power over my happiness. I regret loving you more than you ever loved me. But I don't regret protecting myself. I don't regret standing up for myself. And I don't regret making sure you faced consequences. Because what you did wasn't just wrong, it was evil. You looked at your mother, the woman who gave you life, who sacrificed everything for you, and you saw nothing but money. You saw nothing but an obstacle. You saw nothing but someone to exploit and discard. And when I refused to be discarded quietly, you hated me for it. Claire, I read your letters, all of them. You say you're sorry. You say you understand. But do you? Do you really understand what you took from me? You didn't just try to steal my money. You tried to steal my dignity, my autonomy, my right to exist as a person rather than a resource. You tried to erase me while I was still breathing. And when I fought back, you called me vindictive. Marcus, I know you're angry. I know you blame me for everything. But I want you to understand something. I didn't send you to prison. You sent yourself to prison. Every choice you made, every lie you told, every moment you spent planning my destruction, those were your choices. Not mine. I just refused to be destroyed. I just refused to disappear quietly, so you could take what wasn't yours. I loved you both so much. I still love you. That's the worst part. The love doesn't stop just because you betrayed me. It sits in my chest like a stone, heavy and painful and constant. I'll carry it until I die. But I can't have you in my life. I can't forgive what you did. Because forgiveness without changed behavior is just permission to hurt me again. And I won't give you that permission. I won't give you another chance to destroy me. So this is goodbye. Not the goodbye I wanted. Not the goodbye I ever imagined. But the goodbye we've earned. I hope prison changes you. I hope you learn something about respect and consequences, and the value of treating people with kindness. I hope you become better people. Not for me, for yourselves, for your children, for whoever comes into your lives next. But I won't be there to see it. I won't be there to witness your redemption, or your continued decline. I'll be here in this house, living whatever years I have left in peace and solitude. And maybe that's enough. Maybe survival is enough. Maybe freedom is enough. I don't know anymore. All I know is that I made my choice. I chose myself, and I have to believe that was the right choice. I have to believe that. Because if it wasn't, then everything I've lost was for nothing. I love you. I hate you. I mourn you. I'm free of you. All of these things are true at once, and I'll carry all of them until I die. Goodbye, my children. Goodbye, Mom. I folded the letter carefully, put it in an envelope, sealed it, addressed it to no one. Then I walked to the fireplace and burned it. I watched the paper curl and blacken, watched my words turn to ash, watched everything I wanted to say disappear into smoke. Because some letters aren't meant to be sent. Some words are just meant to be released. The fire died down, the ashes cooled, and I felt lighter, not healed, not whole, but lighter. Patricia called that evening. How are you? I'm okay. Just okay? I wrote a letter to my children today, then I burned it. What did it say? Everything I needed to say, and nothing they needed to hear. That's probably wise. Patricia, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think I'm a bad person? Silence. Then, I think you're a person who was put in an impossible situation and made the only choice you could live with. I think you're brave. I think you're strong. And I think you're grieving a loss that most people can't understand. But am I bad? No, Eleanor. You're not bad. You're just human. And humans break sometimes. And sometimes, when we break, we have to make hard choices to survive. I destroyed my family. Your family destroyed itself. You just refused to be destroyed with it. I hung up and sat in the dark, thinking about everything I'd lost and everything I'd kept. I'd lost my children, my grandchildren, my sister, my friends, my community. But I'd kept my home, my dignity, my autonomy, my right to exist as a person rather than a resource. Was it a fair trade? I didn't know. I'd probably never know. All I knew was that I'd made my choice, and I had to live with it. For however many years I had left, I had to live with it. Alone in this house, free in this silence, surviving in this emptiness. And maybe that was enough. Maybe it had to be enough. Because there was no going back, no undoing what had been done, no rebuilding what had been burned. There was only forward, only survival, only the grim satisfaction of knowing I'd stood up for myself when everyone told me to lie down. I went to bed that night thinking about the letter I'd burned. about all the words I'd never say, about all the love I still carried for children who tried to destroy me. And I slept. Not peacefully, but I slept. Because even in the wreckage of everything I'd lost, I was still here. Still breathing. Still standing. Still Eleanor Hartwell. And that, somehow, was enough. 18 months after the trial, Gerald called with news that would change everything again, and I learned that Thomas had left me one final gift, one final twist in a story I thought was finished. Eleanor, you need to come to my office. There's something you need to see. What is it? I can't discuss it over the phone. Can you come today? I drove to his office, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. What now? What else could possibly happen? Gerald met me at the door, his expression unreadable. Come in. Sit down. I sat. He pulled out a thick folder. Do you remember Thomas's business partner, Robert Chen? Vaguely. He died about 6 months before Thomas. Didn't he? Yes. And he left his entire share of the business to Thomas, with a provision that it would pass to you upon Thomas's death. I don't understand. Thomas told me the business was worth about $2 million. Gerald smiled. That's what he told everyone. But Robert's share alone was worth $4 million. Combined with Thomas's share, the total value of the business is now $12 million, and you own all of it. The room spun. 12 million. 12 million. Thomas hid the true value to protect you. He knew that if Marcus and Claire knew how much money was really at stake, they'd have moved against you even faster. So he understated everything, made it seem like a small family business, barely worth inheriting. But why didn't you tell me this before? Because Thomas's instructions were specific. I was to reveal the full extent of the estate only after the criminal trials were complete, and all appeals were exhausted. He wanted to make sure Marcus and Claire couldn't claim they were entitled to any of it. And as of yesterday, Marcus's final appeal was denied. He'll serve his full sentence. So now I can tell you the truth. I stared at the documents in front of me. $12 million, plus the house, plus the other investments. I was worth nearly $15 million. What am I supposed to do with this? I whispered. Whatever you want, it's yours. Thomas left very specific instructions that upon your death, the entire estate will be donated to charities focused on elder abuse prevention and support. Marcus and Claire get nothing, their children get nothing, but until you die, it's all yours. He really thought of everything. He loved you, Eleanor, more than anything. And he wanted to make sure you'd be taken care of, that you'd have the resources to fight back if you needed to, that you'd never have to depend on anyone ever again. I thought about Thomas, about the man I'd loved for 40 years, about how he'd known, even before he died, that our children would betray me, about how he'd protected me from beyond the grave. There's more, Gerald said. The business is thriving. Robert's son has been running it since Robert died, and he's done an excellent job. The value has increased by 30% in the past year alone. You're receiving quarterly dividends of about $200,000. $200,000 every 3 months for doing nothing. I don't need this much money. No, but you have it, and you can do whatever you want with it. I drove home in a daze. $15 million. I could travel the world, buy a new house, move to Paris, do anything. But I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted my family back. And no amount of money could buy that. That night, Lily came to visit. Jessica had agreed to supervised visits once a month. Lily was 9 now, growing up fast. Grandma, why do you still live in this big house all alone? Because it's my home. Your grandpa and I built it together. But don't you get lonely? Very lonely. Then why don't you move somewhere with other people? Because running away doesn't fix loneliness. It just moves it to a new location. She thought about that. Mommy says you're rich. Is that true? Yes. How rich? Very rich. Are you happy? The question hit me like a punch. No, sweetheart, I'm not happy. Then what's the point of being rich? Out of the mouths of babes. I don't know anymore. After Lily left, I sat at my dining room table and thought about her question. What was the point? What was the point of $15 million if I was eating supper alone every night? What was the point of winning if I'd lost everything that mattered? I called Patricia. I need to do something with this money, something meaningful. Like what? I don't know, but I can't just sit on it. I can't just exist. I need to make something good come out of all this pain. We talked for hours. By the end, I had a plan. I would start a foundation, the Eleanor and Thomas Hartwell Foundation for Elder Abuse Prevention. We would provide legal assistance to elderly people being exploited by family members. We would fund investigations. We would pay for safe housing for victims. We would make sure no one else had to face what I'd faced alone. It took 6 months to set up. Gerald handled the legal work. Patricia helped me find board members. We hired staff. We opened an office. And then we started helping people. The first case was a 72-year-old woman whose son had forged her signature on a reverse mortgage. We paid for her lawyer. We hired an investigator. We got her house back, and her son was arrested. The second case was an 80-year-old man whose daughter had stolen his Social Security checks for 3 years. We got him into safe housing. We helped him press charges. His daughter went to prison. Case after case after case. Elderly people being exploited, abused, stolen from by the people who were supposed to love them. And we helped them all. The foundation grew. We expanded to 3 states, then 5, then 10. We helped hundreds of people, then thousands. And slowly, very slowly, I started to feel like my pain had a purpose, like everything I'd been through meant something. I couldn't get my family back. I couldn't undo what had been done, but I could make sure other people didn't have to face it alone. I could turn my tragedy into someone else's salvation. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was the point. Not happiness, not reconciliation, not healing. Just purpose, just meaning, just the knowledge that I'd taken something terrible and made something good from it. On the foundation's first anniversary, we held a gala. 200 people attended. Survivors, lawyers, advocates, people who understood. I gave a speech, told my story, watched people cry, watched them nod in recognition, watched them understand. We are not victims, I said. We are survivors, and we refuse to be destroyed quietly. We refuse to let our pain be meaningless. We refuse to let cruelty win. This foundation is proof that even in our darkest moments, we can create light. Even in our greatest pain, we can create purpose. Even when we lose everything, we can still win. Because survival is victory. Standing up for yourself is victory. Refusing to be destroyed is victory. And we have all won, simply by being here tonight. The room erupted in applause. People stood. Some were crying. Some were smiling. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt something other than grief. I felt proud. 5 years after the trial, I received a letter from the prison chaplain, and the words on that page forced me to face the one question I'd been avoiding since this nightmare began. Could I ever truly be free if I couldn't forgive? Dear Mrs. Hartwell, my name is Father Michael O'Brien, and I'm the chaplain at the correctional facility where your son Marcus is serving his sentence. He has asked me to write to you because you've blocked all direct communication from him. I want to be clear. I'm not writing to ask you to forgive him or reconcile with him. I'm writing because I believe you deserve to know that your son is dying. Marcus was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 6 months ago, the same disease that took his father. He has perhaps 3 to 6 months left. He's been moved to the prison medical unit, where he's receiving palliative care. He asks for nothing from you. He expects nothing. He simply wanted you to know. He wanted you to have the choice of whether to see him before he dies. Whatever you decide, I will respect, but I felt you deserved to know. Father Michael O'Brien. I read the letter 3 times, then I set it down and stared at the wall. Marcus was dying. My son was dying. And I felt nothing. No grief, no sadness, just a hollow emptiness where maternal love used to live. What kind of mother feels nothing when she learns her child is dying? A mother who's been destroyed, I thought. A mother who's been hollowed out by betrayal. I called Gerald. Did you know? I heard rumors. I didn't want to tell you unless it was confirmed. What should I do? That's not for me to decide, Eleanor. Only you can answer that question. I hung up and sat in Thomas's chair, thinking about the little boy who used to run through this house, the child who'd called me mommy, the son I'd loved with every fiber of my being. That child was dying, and I didn't know if I cared. For 3 days, I wrestled with the decision. Patricia said I should go, for your own closure, not for his. Gerald said I should think carefully. Make sure you're ready for whatever you might feel. Lily said, you should go, Grandma, because you'll regret it forever if you don't. On the 4th day, I called Father O'Brien. I'll come, but I need to know, does he want something from me? Money, forgiveness. What? He says he wants nothing. He just wants to see you one last time, to say goodbye properly. I'll be there tomorrow. The prison was a 3-hour drive. I made it in silence, my hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel, my mind empty of everything except the road ahead. Father O'Brien met me at the entrance. Thank you for coming. I know this must be difficult. I don't know what I'm feeling. That's understandable. There's no right way to feel in a situation like this. He led me through security, through corridors that smelled like disinfectant and despair, to a small room in the medical unit. Marcus lay in a hospital bed, thin and gray, and barely recognizable. The cancer had eaten him alive. He looked like a skeleton wearing his skin. His eyes opened when I entered. Mom? His voice was a whisper, a ghost of what it used to be. I'm here. You came. I didn't think you would. I sat in the chair beside his bed. I almost didn't. I don't blame you. He coughed, a wet, rattling sound. I don't blame you for anything. Don't you? No, I was angry for a long time, blamed you for everything. But the cancer, it gives you perspective, makes you see things clearly. He paused, struggling for breath. I destroyed us, Mom. Not you, me. I chose money over family. I chose greed over love, and I lost everything. Yes, you did. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. I know it doesn't undo what I did, but I need you to know that I understand. Now, I understand what I took from you, what I tried to take from you. I looked at this dying man, who used to be my son. Why did you do it, Marcus? Why wasn't my love enough? I don't know. I think I was always scared of not having enough, scared of not being enough, and I let that fear turn me into someone I hate. Do you hate yourself? Yes, every day, every moment. I hate what I did to you. I hate what I did to my children. I hate who I became. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then Marcus spoke again. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it, but I want you to know that I loved you. I do love you. I just didn't know how to show it. I didn't know how to be the son you deserved. You were the son I had. That should have been enough. It should have been, but it wasn't. And I'm sorry. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw both the man who'd betrayed me and the child I'd loved. Both existed. Both were real, and I had to find a way to hold both truths at once. I can't forgive you, I said finally. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, but I can tell you that I understand you were sick long before the cancer. Sick with fear and greed and something broken inside you that I couldn't fix. That's not your fault. I know, but I blamed myself anyway. I wondered what I did wrong, how I failed you. You didn't fail me. I failed you. I failed myself. I failed everyone. He started crying, weak, quiet tears that rolled down his hollow cheeks. I reached out and took his hand. It felt like bones wrapped in paper. I loved you so much, I whispered. I still love you, even after everything. I still love you. I don't deserve your love. No, you don't. But you have it anyway, because that's what mothers do. We love our children, even when they destroy us. We sat like that for an hour, not talking, just existing together in the same space one last time. When I stood to leave, Marcus whispered, "Thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me this." Goodbye, Marcus. Goodbye, Mom. I walked out of that prison, knowing I'd never see him again. He died 3 weeks later. Father O'Brien called to tell me. He went peacefully, he said, and he asked me to tell you that he was grateful for everything, for the life you gave him, for the love you showed him, for coming to see him at the end. What about a funeral? He asked to be cremated. He said he didn't deserve a funeral. He said he didn't want to burden anyone else with his death. Send me his ashes. Are you sure? He's still my son. He'll still come home. The ashes arrived a week later. I put them next to Thomas's urn on the mantel. My husband and my son, both gone, both loved, both sources of infinite pain and infinite love. Claire wrote when she heard about Marcus's death, a long letter about grief and regret, and how she'd failed her brother. I wrote back. For the first time in 5 years, I wrote back. Dear Claire, Marcus is gone, and I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of carrying this weight. I can't forgive what you did. I don't know if I'll ever forgive it. But I can stop punishing you. I can stop punishing myself. You'll be released in a year. When you get out, if you want to see me, you can. I'm not promising reconciliation. I'm not promising we'll ever be mother and daughter again. But I'm promising I'll listen. I'm promising I'll try. That's all I can offer. Take it or leave it. Mom. She wrote back immediately. I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. I don't know what will happen when she gets out. I don't know if we'll ever rebuild what was broken, but I know I'm tired of being at war. I'm tired of grief being my only companion. I'm tired of survival being my only victory. Maybe it's time to try something new. Maybe it's time to try living instead of just surviving. The foundation continues to grow. We've helped over 5,000 people now. We've changed laws. We've saved lives. We've given voice to the voiceless. And I've found purpose in the wreckage of my family. I still eat supper alone most nights. I still talk to Thomas's photograph. I still feel the weight of everything I've lost. But I also feel something else now. Something I haven't felt in years. Hope. Not hope for reconciliation. Not hope for healing. Just hope that maybe, possibly, the worst is behind me. Hope that maybe I can have a life that's more than just surviving. Hope that maybe in whatever years I have left, I can find something that looks like peace. I'm 70 years old now. My hair is white. My hands shake. My body aches. But I'm still here. Still standing. Still Eleanor Hartwell. And that, finally, feels like enough. Thank you for staying with me through this story. Through every painful moment, every difficult choice, every consequence I've had to face. If my story has touched you in any way, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who's facing their own impossible choice between family and self-preservation. And in the comments, tell me, was I right to fight back, or should I have forgiven and forgotten? I need to know. I need to understand if I made the right choice, because even now, even after everything, I still wonder. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you think I'm a survivor or a villain, because I honestly don't know anymore. I just know I did what I had to do to survive. And I hope, wherever you are, whatever you're facing, you find the strength to do the same. Thank you for listening. Thank you for witnessing my story. Thank you for being here. You'll never know how much it means to not be alone in this. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and remember you deserve to protect yourself, even when it costs you everything.